risk for serious health problems such as heart disease, diabetes, cancer, and obesity. This morning, it is with great pleasure that I introduce our two guest speakers who will be speaking to us on the topic of nutrition and health. They are with the Florida Department of Health in Palm Beach County. To my closest to my left is Megan Perez. She has a Master's of Science, and she's a registered dietitian and also a licensed dietitian. She's a senior public health nurse. Nutritionist. She has been practicing as a registered dietitian for over 9 years and has a special interest in blood sugar management and insulin resistance. She has worked in the long-term care hospital, dialysis centers, eating disorder centers, and private practice. Megan enjoys working in an outpatient setting and loves helping the community with nutrition education. She has her master's degree in dietitian nutrition from the Florida International University and currently works as a senior public health nutritionist with the Florida Department of Health. And further from my left is Marlene Martinez. She has a Master's of Business Administration. She's also a registered dietitian and nutritionist. She also is a board-certified lactation consultant for the upcoming pregnant moms. She's a clinical coordinator and nutritionist. Marlene is a registered and licensed nutritionist. She holds her BSN and MSN in nutrition. She has 30 years of experience providing clinical and community nutrition services. She's currently the senior public health nutritionist supervisor at the Florida Department of Health in Palm Beach County, where she coordinates health access, clinical nutrition services with a team of 4 dietitians. She's also a lifestyle coach for the National Diabetes Prevention Program. Please join me in welcoming Megan and Marilyn. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kanisha.
Testing.
Can everyone hear me okay? Do I need to be a little bit louder, or is this okay? That's fine. Thank you. Okay, so like Kanisha said, my name is Megan, and this is Marilyn. Marilyn's going to start handing out some papers that we'll be using a little bit later. But for now, I just want to introduce our topic for today, which is using MyPlate for healthy eating and disease prevention. So today we're going to be talking a lot about how nutrition is related to chronic illness, and we're going to be using this amazing tool, as you see up here, called MyPlate. Our objectives today are for you to understand what MyPlate is, to know how to use MyPlate for specific diseases that you may have an interest in, such as diabetes or heart disease, to know how to easily access MyPlate, and also to be able to use MyPlate to create healthy recipes at home. So first of all, I want to talk about how diet influences disease. Now, what we eat and also how much we eat have a significant impact on our health. Chronic diseases are not just short-term. They're not just like a cold or a flu that we get over. A chronic illness is something that stays with us for life and that we have to learn to manage. So chronic diseases can be conditions like diabetes or heart disease, and they can negatively impact our lives and even shorten our life expectancy. In the United States, 6 out of 10 people have a chronic disease, and 4 out of 10 people will have 2 or more chronic diseases. Some people aren't even aware that they have chronic illnesses. The risk of developing a chronic disease can be lowered if a person is regularly participating in physical activity, if they have access to health care and regularly attending doctor's appointments, getting early screening done, and also if they follow a healthy diet. So today we're really going to hone in on that diet part. First of all, I want to ask you all, what do you think the benefits of a healthy diet are? Now, you can raise your hand or you can shout it out. Does anyone know what a healthy diet can do for us? Yeah. Okay, maybe help with weight management. Okay, it can help with our weights. Anything else? Energy, I love that. Healthy eating can give us energy levels. Yes. Help you live longer. Perfect. Yes, absolutely. What did you say? Rested. Yes, it can help us to sleep better. I've worked with many people in private practice who told me they couldn't fall asleep at night, and it turns out they weren't eating enough, and that was really affecting their sleep. That's a good one. Oh, I love this. I feel like you have my PowerPoint right now. So having balanced blood sugar levels really helps with our mood as well and can help us to manage anxiety better. You know, everyone always talks about getting hangry. All right, anything else? All right, so we mentioned almost all of the ones I said. First of all, healthy eating can lower our risk for chronic illness like heart disease, stroke, diabetes, or other conditions. Eating a balanced diet promotes stable energy levels, stable mood, stable blood sugars. Eating specific nutrients like, say, fiber and healthy fats can actually lower our cholesterol levels. Eating a healthy diet can lower our blood pressure, and we're going to talk about that. Eating, say, probiotic-rich foods can help improve our digestion and our gut health. And eating a healthy diet means that we're going to be getting a variety of nutrients, and some of these nutrients contain antioxidants or anti-inflammatory benefits. Okay, so we've been talking all about what a healthy meal plan or a healthy diet does for us, but what is healthy eating? I do have a lot of people come to me and say, I just have no idea what to eat. Where do I even start? So this is where we're going to introduce My Plate. And you can see My Plate up here. You can also see it in the back. We have the 5 food groups here. So My Plate was created as a visual reminder to make healthy choices from each of the 5 food groups. It looks like a plate that you would have at home. And Marilyn's actually going to pass out a couple variations of My Plate so you can get a feel for the different food groups or what it looks like. So we can pass those around. So you can see here that there are 5 different food groups. Can I have someone call out one of the food groups? Fruits. What else? Grains, thank you. Protein. What else are we missing? Vegetables, thank you. Everyone's favorite. And there's one more. It's actually the blue one up at the very top. Yeah. Dairy, thank you. Dairy's not on the plates that we're passing out, but dairy can be an important part of a healthy diet if you tolerate it well. So out of our food groups, I want to go through and talk about a couple examples of each one because sometimes people get really confused when it comes to nutrition. And I don't blame you at all. There's so many people out there talking about exactly what you should eat. It's funny, in the dietitian world, we kind of joke about how everyone's a nutritionist. And, you know, whether it's your mother-in-law or your cousin or your sister, everyone has their own version of what the right way of eating is. So it can get a little confusing. So if anyone knows and they want to shout out, what are some examples of fruits? say banana? Yes. Berries, great. Strawberries. Apples. Awesome. Okay, you guys know your fruits. That's great. What about vegetables? Lettuce. Cucumber. Cabbage. Wonderful. Broccoli, thank you. Brussels sprouts. Do you know one? Carrots. That's perfect. Got it. All right, so we got vegetables. Next, let's talk a little bit about examples of protein. Chicken, fish, pork, turkey. All right, what about tofu? Or eggs? All right, so those are some good sources of protein. We also have grains. For a minute, I'll just talk about the grains category. Grains can be grains like rice, but they can also be starchy vegetables like corn and potatoes. And pumpkin, another starchy vegetable, plantains. I consider butternut squash a starchy vegetable. So we have vegetables, but I would put the starchy vegetables in the grains category because they do have more carbohydrates. And if anyone is interested in one of the next slides where I'm going to talk about diabetes, that's going to be really important. So keep in mind that the starchy vegetables are a part of the grains group. So we could just call it the starch group. All right, so we went through some examples of grains and starchy vegetables. The last one is dairy. What's an example of dairy? Cheese, milk, eggs. Ooh, close, very close. That's a little tricky. Eggs are going to go in the protein category, but I got you. Yogurt, milk, great. Those are good ones. I was just going to say that. Ice cream. You're reading my mind. Okay. All right, so we have examples of the different types of foods that belong in these 5 food groups. Oh, thank you. Great. Yeah. Oh, great, because you see the dairy has its like a little cup. Water belongs, that's true. Water, while it could contain some nutrients, depending on where you're getting your water from, I just consider water as like a given. All day, every day, we need to be drinking water. But that's a great question. I don't know if you have something else to add to the water comment or.
Water is mineral, and water is just necessary for our body. We are not making it part of a nutrient, but without water, we can't survive. So water is not part of the food group, but it is something that we must have on a daily basis, and depending on our size and what we do for a living, if we are working heavy, some people need more water than others. On the average, a person may need at least 8 cups. Some people may need less, some people may need way more. Okay, so water, don't put water as part of the food group. It's part of life. We need it to live also.
And even though dairy looks like it's a cup, like a cup of milk, as a reminder, it can be yogurt or cheese. Even butter is dairy, so it could just be a part of your meal. Okay, does anyone in here have an interest in learning about nutrition for diabetes or blood sugar management? Yeah, whether it's for your own personal reasons or for people in your family, diabetes management is really important. And I'm actually going to argue that every single person, whether you have blood sugar issues or not, can really benefit from working to manage your blood sugars. We already mentioned that stable blood sugars go hand in hand with stable mood and stable energy levels. And I think we all want stable energy levels and a stable mood. So first of all, how do we eat for diabetes if we're eating according to my plate? Now we're throwing in different conditions. It gets confusing. The great news is you do not have to eat any differently. Following my plate actually helps you to follow a diabetic diet. So by following the MyPlate guidelines, you are already going to be looking into the correct portion sizes for grains and fruit, which contain carbohydrates, and those are the food groups we really want to watch for blood sugar. So if you could see on the plates that were passed around, but also on your handout that Marilyn passed around, you see a picture of a plate divided into a half and 2 quarters here. How many, or I guess, what size on the plate would you say should be filled up with grains? Is it the whole plate? A quarter of the plate, thank you. So by following the MyPlate guidelines, you're going to be sticking to about a quarter of your plate from grains or starchy vegetables. All right? I know I get a lot of funny looks when I tell people that who come into the health department to see me. They usually show me the amount of carbohydrates that they eat, and it's usually filling up the whole plate with rice and then putting more food on top of it, and I completely understand. I think it's culturally the norm for a lot of people. When we're looking at blood sugar balancing, though, we definitely want to add our carbohydrates, which are going to be the rice, the pasta, the plantains, the sweet potatoes, all the other starchy vegetables we talked about. We want to start by filling up a quarter of our plate. And the other thing I want you to take note of is it's really important to add some high fiber carbs in sometimes. So if you're finding that every time you fill up your carb portion of your plate, it's white rice or white pasta, I think a really great goal would be to maybe 50% of the time aim for brown rice or whole wheat pasta. It doesn't have to be every time. And if you decide you don't like brown rice or whole wheat pasta, maybe try instead beans or lentils, sweet potato, plantains. Those all have fiber as well. Before I move on, I'm still going to talk about diabetes, but before I move on to another portion of the plate, any questions about those starches and grains? Yes, great question. She asked, can you have more than one starch? Oh, thank you for the microphone. That'll be helpful. And the answer is yes, as long as it fits in that portion. So if you're eating rice and beans, totally fine to have both, but we want it to fit into that quarter plate. Okay? You know what? That counts for your dairy. Yeah, that's a great question. What about coconut milk and butter with the rice and beans? Absolutely. That adds into your dairy is the butter. So you wouldn't need necessarily a glass of milk on the side, but you would have your butter mixed in with it, and that's perfectly fine. I would still keep it to that quarter of a plate. Now, everyone is going to be a little bit different, right? We're all different sizes, shapes. We all have different blood sugar sensitivities. So this is a starting point. If you are someone who has diabetes and you check your blood sugars regularly, you may learn that, oh, I can have a little more than a quarter of my plate and my blood sugars still fit in the right range. Or maybe you're really sensitive and maybe you need to do a little bit less than a quarter of a plate. For those of us who are not checking our blood sugars, you're going to learn to listen to your body a little bit during this too. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. But I'm going to now talk about the other portions for the diabetic diet. Yes? Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Into dairy as well, right?
The almond milk? That's a great question. Does almond milk fall into the dairy category? I'll share my thoughts, and then if Marilyn has different thoughts, she can say it. I'm going to say no, because almond milk, I drink almond milk. I'm not downplaying it. Yes. Is that one better? Oh, I'm sorry. No problem. Thank you for helping. Okay. Oh, that is a lot better. I consider almond milk kind of like water, and that is because if you've ever made almond milk, I was crazy in grad school and I made my own almond milk. It's water and almonds. by the time it actually gets into the milk container, it's a very, very small amount of protein, very, very small amount of fat. There's not a lot of nutrients to it. So almond milk, while you may enjoy it, and that's perfectly fine, I would not put it in the dairy category because I don't believe that it's providing enough protein and fat like a dairy food would. Do you have?
I would add that it's good tasting and that it's a good source. It may be a good source of calcium because they've added some calcium to it, but there's a question whether that particular type of calcium is really absorbable by your body. I would say, yes, you may have your almond milk and mix it with fruits and also some other vegetables, because you can make a milkshake out of it. It could be a good source of a liquid to help mix your smoothie. And but the problem is that it's not going to contribute that much, okay? But it's good tasting, and it's especially good for those who cannot use milk because they would like to have a smoothie, but the milk gives them a lot of digestive issues because some of us are lactose intolerant. And so the almond milk is an option to be able to, be a base for your smoothie.
Does that help? Okay, so does dairy have to come from a cow? I'd say, or a sheep. I think when it comes to dairy, this is where working with a nutritionist or a dietitian one-on-one can be really helpful for you to meet your specific nutrient needs. Not everyone needs dairy. I think it can be a really healthy part of our diet. It can be a great way to get in some more protein, some healthy fats. However, if it's not for you, that's okay too. But yes, to answer your question, in this example, does a dairy source come from a cow? I would say, or a sheep or goat. I don't know. It could be goat's milk. So, yeah. Okay. All right. So the other important part, we talked about how starches fit into a diabetic diet. We also want to really hone in on protein because in order to, I guess I would explain two important things for a diabetic diet would be the amount of starches. So we talked about a quarter of your plate. We also talked about the types of starches, so choosing whole grains at least 50% of the time. The other important thing is we always want to have a protein source. That protein is really going to help slow the absorption of blood sugars, making it so our blood sugars don't go really high, and instead they have like a nice curve to them. And so protein is really important here. So we want to stick to a quarter of our plate from a protein source, such as the ones we mentioned earlier, such as chicken, beef, fish, pork, eggs. Those all count as great protein sources, even tofu. All right, also by following a diabetic diet, by following the MyPlate guidelines, we are going to be wanting you to eat consistent meals and snacks throughout the day. This is really important for blood sugar management. Eating about 3 meals a day that look like this, that follow the guidelines, and also having between 1 and 3 snacks throughout your day will make sure that your blood sugar doesn't drop too low. If we go long periods of time without eating, our blood sugar can drop low. Whenever our blood sugar is low, sometimes we feel really hungry, sometimes we feel really anxious, sometimes we feel sleepy or dizzy. And typically when our blood sugars are low, all bets are off. We just need food, we need it now, and we usually want a lot of it. We're eating it without paying attention, eating it really fast. Our blood sugar goes way back up high, and we get on this blood sugar roller coaster. By eating 3 meals and between 1 and 3 snacks throughout the day, that's going to prevent more stable blood sugars. That's where that stable energy and stable mood comes in. Yes, we want to avoid that spiking. I found that when people eat in consistent intervals throughout the day, they're typically getting really in tune with their body. When their blood sugar starts to dip a little, they feel it instead of just feeling it when it's really low and it's almost too late. They feel it when they're just starting to get slightly hungry, and it's like, oh, okay, maybe now's a good time for a balanced snack. And then you have your snack, it goes up a little bit, and then you feel it when you start going down again. It's much easier to get in touch with your fullness cues as well, which means that you'll stop eating when you're comfortably full versus when you're overly full. So I find that to be a really great benefit of eating in consistent intervals, is getting to know your body and how it feels when you are slightly hungry or slightly full, in addition to what it feels like to have high or low blood sugars. So before we move on to another condition, I want us to do a little activity where we actually create a diabetic meal using the MyPlate guidelines. You all have your picture of an empty plate here. Oh, do you have one? And we have more. If you don't have an empty plate, you can raise your hand and we'll pass out more. Here's a couple here. Thank you. All right, so you don't necessarily need a pen, but if you have one, you can write it down. We're just going to create a meal that everyone individually is going to create a meal that they would actually like. You don't have to choose tofu just because you know I love it. You can choose whatever protein source you like. But I want you to write a protein source, or you can have it in your head and share with the group. Write down a protein source that would go in the quarter of the plate protein section. Think about a grain or a starchy vegetable that you like, and that can go in the other quarter of the plate. And finally, a half of your plate is going to come from either fruits and or vegetables. So depending on your meal, you may want the whole half of the plate to be from vegetables. You may want to split it up, do fruits and vegetables. And then don't forget dairy if you are a dairy eater. Does that make sense? Okay, you're just thinking. All right, so you can either write down your plate or have it in your head to share with us.
I wanted to add on that half of the plate where you have the fruits and vegetables, focus more on the vegetables, not all fruits. All fruits can actually raise your blood sugar, so focus more on the vegetable.
We'll give everyone a minute or two. Yes, Megan. Yeah.
I want to ask you, what's a normal blood sugar and what is a high blood sugar?
Great question. So what are the ranges for normal blood sugar levels and what are high? I would say the ranges for normal blood sugars it depends on whether you're fasting or you've eaten, right? So most of us, when we go to the doctors and we fasted and we're getting blood drawn, we're looking for a range that is between above 60 and below 120. I see you. You know that. Mm-hmm. Yes. Great question. So she asked about a protein supplement or just a supplemental shake called Glucerna. They have a couple different types out there. There's Ensure, there's Boost. Glucerna is the one specifically formulated for diabetics because it's lower in sugar, higher in fiber. So would I recommend it for someone who is diabetic? Is that your question? Yeah, absolutely. It can be a great way to get in, I would say, some extra calories and to do it in a way that is not going to raise your blood sugar. I would say for someone who is eating food regularly and maybe doesn't need let me rephrase that. We do like a food-first approach. If you are struggling to get in meals or having a hard time with cooking and preparing, it can be a great shake to have on hand as a supplement. I think an ideal situation would be to be eating the 3 meals and 1 to 3 snacks. Could you use it as a snack, is the question?
Yes, you may, because it is a supplement. A supplement means that it is in addition to your meal. So let's say you have a snack, you have some crackers with peanut butter, then you can also have maybe half a cup of glucerna. So in addition to that.
Are you talking to me? What? Oh, additional mic, yes, and we have another one. I don't know why we're doing that. Okay. All right, so, yes? Yeah.
The plate that we're doing,
Mm-hmm.
is it how it's looking now or how it's...
Oh, great question. Is the plate that you're drawing what you're currently eating? I would say probably not, because I think the lines might be skewed. Yeah, let's create a diabetic-friendly plate that you would actually eat. Foods that you... Yeah, 100%. Yes, even if you're not diabetic, you may know someone who is. It may run in your family. You may be wanting to prevent it. But also, eating this way promotes so many other benefits like stable mood, stable energy levels. All right, does anyone want to share what their plate looks like?
All right. On our plate for protein, our plate, we have oxtail, chicken, salmon, and shrimp.
And does this all fit into the quarter plate?
Yes.
Or are you going to rotate?
You put 1 piece of oxtail, a half a piece of salmon, 4 pieces of shrimp. It's a big plate. And then, what was this over here? Starch? Starches? What's the other quarter?
No, the grains.
The grains is going to be rice and peas. Yes. And over on the vegetable, we're going to have some corn, tomato, peas, broccoli. That's it.
Is corn considered
Great question.
Corn is really a grain, right?
It would fall in the grain/starchy vegetable category.
Yes.
But the tomatoes and broccoli fall into the vegetable category.
Yes, I think some Caribbeans, we treat corn like a vegetable.
It's good to talk about that. It's good to talk about how corn would really fall into the grain, starchy vegetable category. But it sounds like a delicious plate. As long as you're fitting it all into those portions, then we're good. I understand. Yeah, I completely understand that. I know. Mm-hmm. Rice can what? You said you learned that rice can what? Oh, okay. Oh. Oh, boy. Okay, well, yes, I completely understand that. And this is a way to eat to help to prevent diabetes, to manage your blood sugar levels, manage your mood. And I would say, honestly, if you're eating in the way you're currently eating, your labs look great, you feel great, you're really happy with your health, you may not need to change too much. But if there's anything that you're interested in changing, then this could be a really great start. Mm-hmm.
That for the protein, you could have a little fish and a little pork, small portions, but you cannot have 3 of them or 4 of them.
You're saying because they won't fit in the,
Right.
yeah.
Not a matter of fitting for the amount your body should be having at that time in order to break it down, or else you ended up with a spiking position, right? And for the starch, you would not have rice, spaghetti, beans, corns. You would not have all of those. You would have like 2 of those, small portions, because your portion is very, very important. Okay?
Yes, yes, I understand.
That's what I was taught.
Okay, yes, yeah. And honestly, I don't know how many of you are cooking 6 different proteins at one meal, but I'm coming to your house.
I've never really divided the plate, but I do know the consciousness of, to me, that rice is an issue. And I have a house that loves rice and bread. So I have to like change my thought process. But I've incorporated cabbage. I love cabbage and string beans. And then sweet potato. A slice of yellow yam I hear is good. And I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that would be like the grain. What do you call like yellow yam? And it's a starch, but it's a carb, right? It's a carb. And then the protein, more salmon and fish. But I guess my question is how you cook these two. Isn't it an effect? So yes, you can have a lot of vegetables, but if you cook it with a lot of lard or margarine, are they like better types, I guess, is what I'm trying to find out. Like they have like Kerrygold.
Okay.
Is that like a better?
Okay.
And then enriched flour. I'm starting to read up on that. That enriched stuff is what's killing us.
Okay, great questions about what to cook our foods in, especially when it comes to oils and fats. If you don't mind, maybe we'll finish up going over a couple of the diabetic plates, and then on the next thing I'm going to do is talk about my plate for heart health. I think that could be a really good place to talk about the oils and fats. Yes. Absolutely. You're one step ahead of me. Yeah. Thank you. All right. I know you've been patient. Do you want to share your plate?
Okay. So for my grains, I have rice. My proteins, I have steak, salmon, and shrimp. And for my vegetables, I have corn and salad. And then I add a dairy, which is ice cream.
Oh, do you want to share yours? Yeah, go ahead.
For my grains, I put rice. For protein, I put pork, steak, chicken, salmon, curry chicken. And for vegetables, green beans, salad, and corn.
Thank you so much. You want to?
No, I just wanted to share because we were like, that's a big plate. Maybe we should talk about the size of the plate, because a little plate, okay, or, I could have a big plate and put those on there, which...
Absolutely. So like I mentioned, everyone's different. Everyone's a different size, and we have different size plates even up here, as you saw when we passed them around. We love using my plate because it is really easy to imagine my plate when you're sitting at home at your table looking down at your plate. It's easy to say a quarter of the plate goes to grains, a quarter of the plate to protein, etc. We could get really into the exact measurements. However, not everyone we speak with has measuring cups at home. Some people find it a little bit stressful to measure all of their food. So it kind of depends on your specific goals. Like I mentioned, if you are worried about bringing down blood sugars, you may need a more specific meal plan with these amounts and maybe some measuring cups. If you are someone who's just getting started with balancing your meals a little bit better, just start with a quarter of your plate. We don't want this to be stressful. And what was I going to say about the different plates? I forget. Do you have something to add?
I know a lot of people have issues with the milk part, but the milk is still very important because it's a great source of calcium. And there are other sources of calcium that are non-dairy, but it would take a lot of eating of these other sources to meet your daily milligrams of calcium that you would need. For example, you can find calcium in broccoli. But how much broccoli do you want to eat? So having a combination of sources of calcium would be good. And so including the dairy to make a milkshake, make it tasty. Make it a milkshake, make it part of your meal by adding it to certain foods. Okay, some people can make oatmeal, you have the milk, different ways of adding that calcium. So don't just discard milk, but I know personally I don't like plain milk, and I use the milk in recipes.
When I go to the doctor, I always wonder, like, is something wrong? Why she don't drink it? Like, what should I do? But on the other hand, she likes ice cream. Again, I can't give her ice cream every day because she'll wake up in the morning and be like, I want ice cream. And I want ice cream. I'm like, that doesn't work. But that's the milk side that I think, okay, well, at least she's getting milk because she gets ice cream. But no matter what I do, she gets whole 2%, whatever the other boxes they have. Once it says milk or looks like milk, she's not drinking it.
Well, I definitely feel like I can speak to this because I have a 2.5-year-old who also doesn't like anything with milk. She actually prefers the yogurt pouches that are non-dairy, and she can't read, so I don't know how they do it.
My 4-year-old, it would be tricky because I'd be like, okay, Candace, this is, it has bluey on it, and it has this on it, and Mom, but it says, ew, and she reads it because she knows how to read. And then I'm like, okay, just don't look at that part. But it's tricky to do that because she's actually reading it. And I'll be like, okay, trying to cover it up. But it's like, Mom, it says this on there. And I'm like, okay, but it's just like another way. But she will refuse. Yogurt, don't even try. It's like nothing.
One of my suggestions was going to be yogurt with sprinkles on it. My other suggestion is like what Marilyn said, using milk in recipes. So I don't know if she's interested at all in oatmeal, but when I make oatmeal, I'll put whole milk in there. My daughter will eat that. Using whole milk in different recipes. The other thing is, does she like cheese? Oh. Okay. And sprinkling cheese in different things may work, it may not, but I feel like cheese is a really great source of calcium as well.
You may also ask the doctor if there's any kind of supplements that you can provide, some kind of vitamins with calcium added, and see what happens with that.
Yeah, that's great. Yes? The powdered milk? I haven't looked at a box of powdered milk in a while, but off the top of my head, what I'm thinking of is it sweetened at all? Is there any sugar in it? No?
Powdered milk comes with milk fat, and it also comes with non-milk fat. Powdered milk can be reconstituted into milk. You can follow the instruction. Powdered milk is like milk, and it's okay to use. And you know what? You can actually add powdered milk to recipes, and your daughter may not realize that she got the milk because you took the powder, you added it to to some kind of a meal, okay? You just have the water, maybe you have the water, the vegetables, and some oatmeal, and then you take a couple of powders of milk and add to it, put that in a blender, see what happens, because sometimes it's mental. Okay?
Yes? Great question. Question about the sweeteners like Splenda. So if you are diabetic, Splenda, I know they have the one, Truvia? No. Stevia, thank you. Those can be great ways to add sugar if you are a diabetic. I will say, if I'm working with a client one-on-one, I'm always looking for ways to decrease all sugar and sweeteners, and maybe that is by adding fruit instead. If I am talking with a client who's trying regular yogurt without any sweeteners, but maybe we add fruit to sweeten it, I'm kind of looking at ways to add food in place of the sweetener. But I think that the stevia and the stevia, Splenda, those can be great if you're a diabetic. You agree?
What's your take on those zero drinks?
Like Coke Zero and all those. I mean, I'm not a big fan. I know they can have a place. I think, again, if I'm working with someone, I'm typically trying to get them to come off of sodas in general. But if you are someone who's diabetic who is drinking soda, this Coke Zero would be a better option for you. I don't know if you had anything different to say. Yeah, but overall, I like to help people come off of soda and drink other things instead. Yeah. Zero Gatorade, you're right. Okay, so that's what you're asking. Okay. Yeah. I understand. I think a lot of it is still new, so we don't exactly know yet. There are some initial research studies talking about artificial sweeteners changing the gut microbiome. We don't know exactly. What I like to do, though, is instead of focusing on kind of the negatives or things that we don't really know yet, I like to make sure that we are covering all of our other bases on what we do know. So we do know that fruits and vegetables are very healthy for us, especially those vegetables. We do know you can eat a balanced diet 3 times a day with a couple snacks, so that you are adding in all of these nutrient-dense foods and all of these healthy behaviors, so that if there is anything negative coming from these drinks that we find out in the future, it's not all or nothing, right? You are really building up your, what's a good analogy here or example? You're really building up your nutrient bank per se, so that something like that isn't really going to affect your health down the road. I feel like a politician right now with that answer, but I think there's still a lot of things we don't know about some of the zero drinks yet. But if anything, in moderation, you don't want to be drinking, 3, 4, 5 of them a day, maybe 1 a day, and if you can drink water, water's better. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, I would say so. The question was, if you're not comfortable with the artificial sweeteners, is it okay to use a small amount of regular sugar?
I agree. Very small amount, until finally your taste bud will eventually get used to not so much sugar, and you will find that you're just fine without sugar.
These are wonderful questions. I'm really impressed. Okay, so I'm going to move on to one more example before we let Marilyn take the mic for a little bit. So just like we went over an example of how MyPlate can be helpful for diabetes management, MyPlate is also really helpful for managing other conditions associated with heart health. So heart disease, hypertension or high blood pressure, and high cholesterol can all be improved by following the MyPlate guidelines. All right, we talked about a couple examples of protein like fish, turkey, pork, beef, eggs. But something that we want to really hone in on for heart health is low sodium options of protein. Why is low sodium important? because eating a lot of sodium can cause a lot of fluid to be built up around our heart and lungs. This makes our heart have to work really hard. So when we follow a low sodium diet, it takes a little bit of that pressure off. Our heart doesn't have to work quite as hard. So let's talk about some low sodium options for meats and proteins. We definitely can choose fresh cuts of chicken, beef, pork, eggs. I know some people really like smoked meats and smoked fish, but it is very salty. So that's why we're focusing on more of the fresh cuts of these meats and fish here. Something else could be dried beans instead of canned beans, unsalted nuts, and some other proteins like hummus, Greek yogurt. But something else that you're going to want to take into consideration here is the cooking methods and the amount of salt that you're using at home, or making sure you keep in mind that the amount of salt that are in processed foods or in foods that you eat out at restaurants is going to be much higher than foods that you cook at home. Yes? Yeah, you might not think my answer is that exciting, but yes. Yeah, so pink Himalayan sea salt, I have some at home. I think the first time I bought it, it was because I thought it was pretty, but it said on the package that there's over 80-some minerals. We don't want to be using so much salt on our food that that's where we're getting all of our minerals from, right? We want to get our vitamins and minerals from food, and salt is something just to add a little bit of flavor. We do need some sodium, but I think most people don't need to worry about not getting or getting enough sodium, because typically we are having a lot of sodium in our foods and our drinks. I would say if you're always cooking at home, you're never using any salt, then you are someone who really, what was I going to say here? Doesn't have to worry too much. But if you're someone who's eating out a lot, eating a lot of processed foods, eating a lot of prepackaged foods, then it is going to be important to watch your salt intake. And you can do that by kind of like Marilyn suggested with the sugar, having the real sugar and then having smaller and smaller amounts. You can try salt-free seasonings like Mrs. Dash. You can use smaller and smaller amounts of salts. But I think the biggest way to cut down on your salt is to eat out less and cook at home more. But I'm sorry, I think I started rambling. To really answer your question about the salts, I don't think it matters too much what type of salt you're using. I don't know if I want to talk about iodine. What? Salt contains sodium, so we do want to focus on that when we're talking about heart health. But when it comes to the type of salt, I don't think buying a certain type of salt is going to make you that much healthier than another type of salt. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's still sodium, so it's still something we want to watch out for. But you're welcome to buy the pink pretty salt, because I do that too, and I like it. But it doesn't make too much of a difference in terms of nutrition. But I do want to make sure we talk about the last question you asked, which is in terms of cooking oils. So we're talking about what oils or what we use to cook our food and how that impacts our health and even the quality of the nutrition that we're getting from our food. And that's a wonderful question. Oil, I can kind of say the same thing about oil as I would about salt. We can use little bits. We don't want to use a lot because it is high in calories. And when we cook oil, it does tend to change some of the composition of the oil. I don't want to get too into food science here, but cooking oils at high temperatures can alter them, and that can be bad for our health. Basically, don't burn it, but I think a good rule of thumb is around 350 degrees is the smoking point for a lot of oils like olive oil and butter. And that I tend to think is more like medium to medium low on your stove top, if that helps. But if we're cooking foods at really high temperatures, if we're frying foods, honestly, it's not healthy. I'm not going to sit here and say I never eat fried foods, and I don't want you guys to ever eat fried foods, but I think the reality is it's not healthy for us, and it can contribute to worsening heart conditions. So if you are someone who eats fried food, eating it in moderation is the best thing I can really recommend there. am a big believer in enjoying our foods, but I also believe that we can enjoy our foods by trying different cooking methods like baking, cooking at lower temperatures, even something oh, thank you. I even have an air fryer. I forgot to mention the air fryer. You can use minimal oil or no oil. I feel like I'm rambling. I don't know if there's anything you want to add.
Just want to add that oil is also a good source of nutrients. We have lots of vitamins that are based in oil, like vitamin D. What's the other one? Vitamin D, E, K. Yeah, and though that's why we do need oil. We don't want to remove oil from our food. It's just a type of oil. For example, we would suggest you use the oil that does not become hard on the at room temperature, and so that would be something like olive oil. I believe olive oil, canola oil, and so those would be the good sources of oil to use. How much of it? Don't base everything in all oil, but a few tablespoons for cooking the meal will go a long way.
What kind of what? Coconut oil. Coconut oil, I think, can be a healthy oil. I think it goes with the others that Marilyn mentioned. It falls with olive oil and canola oil. It's a healthy oil. It typically has some good flavor. I think the smoke point is around the same, so you don't want to cook it at too high of temperatures. Yes, avocado oil does have a higher smoke point, and at home, something I love to do is roast vegetables, and I usually do use avocado oil on my vegetables when I roast them, so that they're not smoking and I can cook them around 400 degrees. I think we do just want to look at oil kind of like salt. You know, a little bit goes a long way. Too much is not a good thing, but a little bit can be a healthy part of our diet. And like Marilyn mentioned, we actually do get some benefits from oil. Okay, I think that's good. So the other thing I want to mention about my plate in terms of heart health is that adding fruits and vegetables, just like you do with my plate, can actually help our blood pressure. And that is because fruits and vegetables contain potassium, and potassium actually can offset the amount of sodium we're eating and improve blood pressure. I also want to make a note of cholesterol levels. When we follow my plate, we are adding in high fiber whole grains at least half of the time. So that could be your dried beans, lentils, whole grain breads, whole grain pastas, brown rice, other grains like farro or bulgur. These can help to lower our cholesterol levels. Fiber helps to lower cholesterol. And they can.
When we talk about probiotics, we're talking about fiber, and when we eat those foods, as they digest, they eventually sustain the growth of certain type of bacteria, good bacteria in our system, and so they are called the probiotics. And so it's important to include whole grains that contains fiber into our diet, because that's the natural way of getting your probiotics.
And the last thing I'll mention about heart health is that there are certain foods that are anti-inflammatory. These foods can help to improve cholesterol levels and improve your heart health overall. So some of these foods have omega-3 fatty acids, but all you need to know is that they are anti-inflammatory foods. They are found in salmon, sardines, walnuts, chia seeds and flax seeds, Brussels sprouts, spinach. You can even buy specific omega-3 fortified eggs. So those are great foods that you can add to your plate if you are interested in improving your heart health.
Okay. One of the things that we want to do is be able to have that information on hand. And how many of you know that there's an app for everything? Well, there is also a My Plate app, okay? And if anyone of you would like or interested in having the My Plate app on your phone, we can go over that today. And we're going to bring it down a little bit, bring it down, 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 and down. Okay, yes, right there. Start simple with My Plate. Any of you have your phone with you? You can download the My Plate app, going to your app store or whatever it's called on your phone. Do you have that now? Anyone would like to do that? We can do that today. I have also, I walk around with my app, and it helps me to set goals on my daily intake of fruits, vegetables, grain, protein, and I wanted to, and I can find great healthy recipes from that app. I can show you how to do that, how to use that app. Okay. Yes. So. Yeah. You see it here. It says "Start Simple with My Plate" app. So go ahead. And can you go ahead and play the film on the My Plate app? Go ahead and where it says learn more. No, go back. Yes, and yes, go ahead. That the one? No, that's not the one. Let's go back down. Let's get out of this one. Go back. No, go down to that My Plate app where it says start simple with My Plate. Right here. Where it says learn more, click that. Okay. And then move a little bit on that one, yes. This is going to tell you what you could find in that app when you go. Oh, it's a little hard to see. Okay. Okay, that's pretty good. Anyone has their phone, is interested in getting the Start Simple with My Plate app? Anyone try to get it? Okay, downloaded. Now, once you have it downloaded, how many of you have it downloaded? Okay, that's 1, 2. You don't have it downloaded, little baby. Oh, you have it? Oh, you do. Okay. Now, once you have it downloaded, you would, of course, register and open up an account. And typically, when you download it, it will head. What is the first thing that you see? So register so that you can become a member. All right. Now, when you are on the goals dashboard, you can decide to set some goals on how many fruits, vegetables, and grains you want to eat. And also, you want to decide how you're going to include it. So what it does, when you click on fruits, for example, go ahead and click on the fruits. It'll say, okay, you can set a real goal by just saying, okay, I will add a fruit as a snack today. For my 3 o'clock snack, I will add a fruit. Your goal has to be very specific, because if you just leave it in the air, oh, I'll add a fruit, you won't know when to actually do it. So you have to say to yourself, okay, at 3 o'clock today for my snack, I will have half an apple, for example. And that's how you set up goals that really work for you. Okay? Okay. Now let's go to the vegetable one. And some fruits
can spike your sugar a whole lot more than other fruits. For example, an apple does not spike the sugar as much as a grape. Yeah. Okay. And that's another topic that we can talk about another day. Okay. There's a lot of information. Right now we're keeping under mace, but some. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to have a whole lot of fruits, a whole big giant, because it tastes good. Let's face it, the sugar is good. Tastes good. But you want to limit it to small amount, maybe 1 serving to 2 servings for the day in fruits. Okay? For vegetable, you want that more of that. You can decide, okay, for a vegetable, I'm going to saute some broccoli and carrots together with some onions and have that, okay, along with the lunch meal. And that's how you would do it. You have to add it. You have to be specific and say, I'm going to add a vegetable to my breakfast, a vegetable for my lunch, and a vegetable for my dinner. And this is the vegetable I'm going to use. And this is how much of it. So your goal has to be very specific so that you can actually do it. If it's not very specific, you find yourself in a cloud somewhere. Okay. And okay, so that's done with that. You have the grain, okay, and you will find that when you hit grain, it'll tell you, for example, I will have whole grain. A lot of us don't have whole grains, so you can find out what the grains are by clicking on the grain group. Let me go back. Okay, yeah, it doesn't maybe it was here. Huh. When you go back to the My Plate picture, all you have to do is click on the grain group and it will show you all that. So what I would like you to do is just explore the app. Go in it and start clicking buttons and see where it takes you. It'll take you lots and lots of places. Okay, let's get out of this altogether. Okay, we're here. When you get back to the dashboard, you're going to see on the bottom, it'll have these little icon on the very bottom. It'll say progress. It'll say progress, badges. Whenever you meet your goal and you click on it, it'll say, yay. Okay, it'll give you a badge. Challenges. When you click on challenges, it'll take you to a quiz. And if you take that quiz, you need to tell the truth. It'll say, okay, how many fruits do you eat for the day? You have to tell the truth. And then at the end, when you tell them what you normally do, what your habits are, okay, it'll not only give you a badge and say yes for telling the truth to yourself, but it will also give you a plan, like this is what you need to do for you, okay? All right. And it'll help you to grow better. Now, there's another part of the app called My Plate 101. This is where you're going to get all the information about every part, okay? In My Plate 101 will give you, if you click on grains, for example, or protein, okay. Yeah, if you click on grain, it'll tell you all about grains, the grains that are the grains that are whole versus the ones that are not whole. It'll give you how much you should have depending on how old you are. For the younger kids, it'll tell you how much the young kids should have. If you're an adult over 60, how much grains you should have. And it will continue. It will give you not only the amount of ounces, but it will also tell you about the different types of grains and how much the portion size for each type of grain as you keep scrolling on that website. It's very, very detailed. All the details are in there. So opening up the app and just playing with it, going to My Plate 101 and start clicking button. Nothing's gonna happen. It's not gonna explode. Okay, just clicking buttons all over the place, and until you just see different things. Okay, all right. Now, let's get out of that. If you want to create a plan for yourself, okay, if you want to create a plan for yourself, sorry. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back to this. All right, 101. Okay, if you want to create a plan for yourself, you keep scrolling on the Nutrition My Plate 101. Eventually, you will see a little icon that says, Get Your My Plate Plan. You would click on that. When you click on that, it'll ask you specific questions. It'll say, okay, you want a plan. Okay, let's get started. And you're going to click Start. Then it'll say to you, okay, then it'll ask you to select your age, okay? He'll ask you how old you are. He'll ask you if you're male or female, okay? And then it'll go from there. And then it'll tell you how many calories you should have for the day. It'll tell you how many calories you should have for the day, whether you're a child or adult, mid, or whether you're a very busy person. It has a plan for you. Then once you hit the calories, you hit the calories, okay, and it starts showing you what foods you can include for that amount of calories and how much. So it'll tell you how many cups of vegetables you need to have, how many cups of fruits you need to have, how many ounces of proteins you need to have for the day to make up that calorie. Let's say you need 1,000 calories for the day. It'll divide it up for you. Okay, it'll say, okay, for the fruits you need 1 cup. It'll tell you for the vegetable you need 1 cup. Then for the grains you need 3 ounces, and for the proteins it'll tell you need 2 ounces, and then for the dairy it'll tell you need 2 cups. It tells you exactly how much of each area you need, okay? And when you are in that area, let's say you want to explore more about the dairy, you can say read more. When you hit that, it'll tell you what foods are included in dairy, because that was one of the questions. So you don't have to memorize what foods needs to be. You can go there, it'll tell you what foods are included in dairy and how much dairy you need to have. Which dairy has more calcium than the other, and what other sources of calcium for some of us who cannot have dairy. You'll also say, okay, then what are other ways of getting your calcium if you cannot have dairy? It'll go over that. So there's lots of information in the app that you can, once you have it, you can download. Okay? Let me see what else. Now I want to show you about the food, another area of the app. Okay, hold on, no, go back here. Now there's a section on the app where you get your plan. You can click menu. Once you click menu, it has an entire list of different things that you can explore, more things to explore. And let's go to the kitchen. It has a kitchen where you can have recipes, and you can click on My Plate Kitchen. And when it comes up, you can type any you can search a recipe. What's the name of the recipe that we have with me? The black bean and rice salad. That's going to type black bean and rice salad. Mm-hmm. And it comes up, black beans and rice salad. We made samples of that black beans and rice salad for you. Why? Because we found that that recipe is so versatile. It tastes so good. You can have it warm, you can have it cold. You can decide to have quinoa, or you can use brown rice, or you can decide to have different type of beans. You can add so many other kinds of vegetables to it. It's so versatile. You just can play games with it all over the place. So we have the recipe here for you that we're going to give to you, okay? And when you click on it, when you click on the recipe, it tells you how to make it. It tells you how many servings. It tells you about the calories. It tells you, it gives you, and it gives you all the nutrition information in one serving. And not only that, it tells you how that recipe falls into my plate. So that recipe that we're about to give to you, it will tell you, it has 1.5 cups of vegetables in one serving. The serving is a cup. 1.5, I'm sorry, what's the serving size on that one? Okay, so the serving size is 1 cup. So in that cup, you're getting your vegetables, you're getting, that recipe contains about 1.25 cups of vegetables. It contains about 2 ounces of grains and contains 3 ounces of protein. So that recipe alone is providing to you a whole lot. It's like a meal in itself, okay? And the good thing about it is that you can know that you're satisfying at least 3 different parts of the food groups that you're supposed to have for the day using that recipe. And not only that, it tells you whether it's a costly recipe or not to make. And if you continue to if you examine it, it's going to have a $sign on the very upper part. On the upper is the total cost, and it's going to have dollar signs. If all $4 are bold, I mean that's a very costly recipe. But if it's one of the dollar signs, that means it's very inexpensive to use to make. So this recipe here, one serving will only cost you $1.39 to be healthy. Okay, so and we went and invested. We every ingredient, adding it up, it's only $1.39 just to be healthy in one serving. That's when you make your food at home, folks. When you do things from home, you get your fiber, you get your vegetables, you get your fruits. Everything is fresh, and it doesn't cost you a lot of money. Okay, so we're going to distribute the recipe. Okay. I would like to encourage everyone to get the app and to explore it as much as possible. So that part that I explored was under menu and kitchen, okay, and recipes. You can also see a video. You can see videos of the recipe because you're going to find that you can actually key in where it says videos and then type in the name of your recipe. That would be the rice and bean salad. And it'll show you how to make it. There will be a video that will show you how to make it. Also, in that same app, physical activity is part of the whole process here. It's not just nutrition, right? Being physically active, being able to get up and go walking is a very important part of maintaining your health, and also a very important part of making sure that your blood sugar, okay, does not escalate. So, being able to go for a walk or do some kind of physical activity for 30 minutes, okay, per day, at least 5 days a week, will also help maintain your blood sugar. So in this app, the app can also, as you explore, you'll find there's a location where you can find out about your physical activity, what you should do. And to do that in the app, you would go to a location of the app where it says, go back, get out of the kitchen, go back to menu. Okay. Oh, go back to 101, My Plate 101, and get started on a plan. And then go to the menu, go to life stages, and let's say we pick what kind of life stage. Let's say we pick older adults. And it'll show you lots of nutrition tips for older adults, and it'll also talk about being active. So you click on Be Active. It talks about how important it is to be active and what to do, and it can give you a plan on how to be active. When you go to Make Your Way, Move Your Way, fact sheets. And so you would have to download it. So for those of you who don't feel comfortable with apps and your phone, have some of the young people in your house help you with that. And you will see how easy it is, because they'll show you, and they'll play around with you. Okay? Okay. So when you get that fact sheet, it tells you all about your physical activity status, what you need to do to maintain a very healthy, physically active life. And it has videos, and it has all type of things that you can watch pertaining to physical activity. Okay? And I suggest that you all get this app. Anyone interested in this app? Who else got it? How many people? You were able to get it? You were able to get it? You did here? Okay. You got it? You got the app? Okay. Help those, you got the app? Okay, excellent. Okay. So anyone who did not get the app, please go to someone who has it and let them help you download the app, okay, so that you can get it. The recipe? You were not able to get the recipe on the app? Okay, let me show you. Okay. Let me see. Go to My Plate 101 and scroll and get your My Plate plan. Then go to Menu and go to Kitchen, My Plate Kitchen. And then recipes right there, My Plate recipes. And you see where it says video? Once you determine, you can actually watch a video on how to make that recipe. Okay. 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 Now you see how interesting it is? You see it? Now when you see a name of a recipe you like, you can go back. You can go back into the list. Go back to the list, and then you can select video and type in the name of that recipe. It'll show you how to make it in a video. Here. Yeah. And then type in what the name of the recipe is. Okay. And then you will watch the video on how to make it. Okay. Anyone has any questions on the app? You've tried. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go back to this one. No, go back. Hmm. Go to 101 and scroll down. Go to get your My Plate recipe. Okay, and you can start. It'll give you like information about your diet by plugging in. You can go ahead and click that. So it asks you.
We're not doing any USDA.
No, you don't have to go there. Just enter your information here. Okay, now I want to show you something else. Go back. Go out of that. Oh no, let me see. No, you don't have to. See where it says menu? Click that. Where's menu again? Menu. And now you have lots of things that you can look at, like My Plate Kitchen and My Plate. You can go to recipes. You can type in the name of this recipe or just look at a bunch of recipes. And once you decide on a recipe, you can get out of that. Let me show you. And go back to menu and go to videos. You see go to My Plate Kitchen. And yeah, and then you can type in the name of the recipe and watch the video on how to make it.
What I wanted to find out, if I don't use the mustard, the vinegar, and the black pepper, what are my substitutes?
You can substitute anything you like. This is your recipe. You play with it. Okay? You play with it. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay? Yeah, and I want to tell you, whatever recipe you see, you can alter the recipe to make it yours. You don't have to feel like you have to follow to the T. For example, if this one asks, personally, I don't add as much vinegar to this. I balance it with a little bit. I put less vinegar, and then I keep the amount of fat, because I prefer to taste more of the fat than the vinegar. You see, so I just reduce that and up this a little bit, and it's perfectly fine. Okay? Play with it. And I don't like mustard powder, but I like real mustard instead, the mustard already. So I mix in that. And some people don't like mustard at all. Find another, put dash, okay, and mix in with another kind of spice. It'll be just fine. Make it yours, okay? And if you don't like ground rice, use quinoa, okay? You can substitute and make it yours. Okay, any questions? Okay, so this is the application of what you've learned. We've learned about how to use My Plate to ward off diseases. And so you have the My Plate, you know how to do it, but you have to apply it. Having the My Plate on your phone, or even going to the computer and downloading My Plate, you will find all that information that I just shared with you. It doesn't have to be on your phone if you are not comfortable with the phone, but if you're more comfortable with going to the computer, it will be there too, myplate.gov. It'll show you everything, okay? All right, any questions for us? Okay, all right. And that's it. That comes to a conclusion. All right.
Thank you all for having us. Oh, and I just letting them know about the samples being out.
Oh, yes. Oh, we made the recipe for you. And we have samples outside on a tray. So everybody can take a little sample, as many as you want, okay? And enjoy it. And you can decide, oh, if it was mine, I would have added a little bit more of this, a little bit. Go ahead and enjoy. That's what recipes, that's what it's all about, you know, and enjoying. But the key is that you're going to get your grain, your whole grain. You're going to get your vegetable. So just you can add as many different types of vegetables as you want. Okay. Enjoy the recipe. Enjoy the taste. Thank you.